Welcome back, you filthy exiles. So this is probably going to be the last part to this series for this Elementalist for Lightning Tendrils. Now, to give you an idea of what I've done with this build, every single Uber except Exarch and Cyrus, degen pits are a real problem for this build, so it doesn't do too well. We're just about at 800 depth and delve, and it looks like it'll be able to push down to maybe 1,000, maybe a little bit more than 1,000, maybe even more than that. Level 30 sims, no sweat, was doing that on stream consistently every single round, can do it, no problems. Some comments I saw about people trying to recompute the DPS. Well, you can see in the videos at the start, while it doesn't do 100 million DPS, if it gets anywhere near 70 million DPS, you can clearly see that it's outputting some absolute slog damage. Whether you believe that or not, don't really care. Outside of that, this does everything in the game. And I'll also add, I do have a magic find variation of this build that I do run when I do maps, so I'll explain that. But basically, let's talk about this build, the mechanics of it. And also, just on top of that, to add, some people have been asking me how to level it. So number one, this is the 4th deepest Elementalist in Delve at the moment on the ladder, which is pretty cool. Not the deepest build on the ladder, but definitely one of the strongest Elementalists, like competing with Detonate Dead builds and everything else. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, people have asked me how to get started with this build. It's pretty simple. League start, you could follow my Incinerate League starter. Basically exactly the same tree, same gear, same everything. Then my Divine Ire updates, literally just changed 3 gems in the chest setup, and it's all exactly the same as this Divine Ire build here. And then we had update 2 for Divine Ire, 17 million. So again, just switch out the gear and you're good to go. Switch out the gem setups and you're good to go. Same gear, same tree, same everything. Then we had the 70 million DPS Lightning Tendrils build video, and so yeah, you can do this without Mage Blood. This is in here now. A lot of people asked about the fire res isn't capped. That's because at the time I was using a Mage Blood, I'd switch back to my old belt. It was a strength belt. All you literally have to do is re-roll the gloves and put fire res on the gloves, and it's, you know, simple as pie, and then it works. And then yeah, and now we get to this video, and I'm going to talk through basically the absolute most disgustingly min and max build I've probably ever done. This build I'd consider basically perfect, except for maybe the helm is not perfect, but definitely everything else is. Now it is a Mage Blood build. You can't get to this level of defensiveness without the Mage Blood. Ultimately, you'll have to wind back to the previous video, which I'll put everything in the description below. And then basically use the farming strat, which I'll put in the description below in Delve, to get a Mage Blood. Gotta get rid of that voice. That voice is gonna distract the living hell out of me. And then beyond that, like, you could use the MF strategy that everyone's running, but let's be real, like, it's not fun running MF for those of us who like killing Titans. And then at the end of the day, like, you know, Delve is pretty damn profitable because not enough people are delving. So we're selling like perfect fossils for like 20 to 25 C a piece. Resonators are selling like 70 to a div. Like, it's disgusting how much profit's coming out of Delve. Envies are dropping at 55 div. Fractured Spectre chests are selling for 60 to 120 div. Delve is profitable, this league. It's a money printer. So yeah, anyway. Let's get into the build, and let's talk through the PoB. Okay, so first and foremost, we have to do a sense check over everything to make sure that everybody's on the same page. Alright, so, talking through the configurations. Soul the Brine King, this gets us chill avoidance, or less effective chill, and avoidance to being frozen. Basically, this is how we get our freeze resist, or freeze avoidance, whatever you want to call it, immunity. So, absolutely need it. Solar Tukahama. So when we stand still, because this build is a standstill build because it's channel, we generate 2% increased energy shield per second. Using Zealot's Oath, it converts the regeneration of life to energy shield regeneration. And then we get 3% physical damage reduction up to 9% when we're stationary. Time spent still, 5 seconds. We're channeling, so we're definitely going to be doing that. Now, you'll notice on the tree when you run Aegis Aurora, it goes to infinite. This build can absolutely take a walloping. that's when it's like regen is completely full, and basically the way that Aegis Aurora works is 2% of your armor is regenerated back as energy shield when you block. Now taking that off, it's 285,000. Still insane. Like, absolutely, like, Chad level tank. Mega, you know, can take punches to the face sort of build. But I've left that on just in case you want to be like, hey, that's a misleading number. Yeah, PoB freaks out. Power charge, doesn't matter what you click because we're using Relicash. All these apply anyway, so we can turn these off and on again. We always have them up. Are you focused? So yep, we've got focus on our gloves. If you followed the previous video, you'll know that we have a focus roll on our gloves. So we map that to the move button. So when you move, you always focus, and then I have a separate button being E, which is mapped to hit it when I'm in the middle of a boss fight or something. Arcane Surge comes from actually having Arcane Surge in the setup. So we proc Arcane Surge in the setup, and we also have it in our node in the tree as well. Gain Arcane Adept, so gain Arcane Surge after channeling for 1 second, and that pretty much maintains uptime all the time. Flask Charge active, yep, that's we're always using a flask. Consecrated Ground, yep, we have a Bottled Faith in this build, so yep, we have Consecrated Ground. Are you channeling? Yes, channeling seconds, 5 seconds generally. Enemies killed, like this really only just increases ES, and this scales with Vile Bastion, so if we're in Delve, we killed 20 enemies. Pretty much caps at 10, we get 1200 ES regen per second. Enemies killed by minions, we don't have minions. Convergence, so this procs off the Ascendancy, which we have in here. Convergence, yep, Heart of Destruction. And this is when we hit a unique enemy, so this is 100% uptime in boss fights. Have you cursed an enemy recently? The reason why is because of our cluster jewel here. So Sap Psyche, regenerate 1% energy shield per second if you've cursed an enemy recently. Because we use Anathema, which is the ring that's in the setup, we generally always curse, and we also have a cast when damage taken setup in the build, which basically curses enemies with Enfeeble when they hit me, which increases my defense even more, which is a really good defense layer to have in this type of build. Now, brands, yep, but it doesn't do anything. Infusion, yep, because it's in the build, it's one of the skills we have, and we bounce that up in damage with Rapid Infusion in our cluster jewels. Sigils of Power, we have 4 stages. Generally speaking, we always have Sigil of Power up, and we're always capping out 4 stages because we channel so much mana. So this isn't an issue to have this in, but if you want to split hairs, yeah, the damage goes down to 65 million. And the effective hit pool is a measly 216 EHP. If you want to be like, oh, this is a bait build, there you go, a total bait. And then beyond that, we have chilled. So I did put a setup for Herald of Ice in. So people ask me about Ash. So yeah, Ash was doing a touch of damage. Ice was a better roll. Thunder would do better, but icing down enemies was more effective as far as a bit of a CC sort of crowd control sort of thing. And then beyond that, we do shock. So we have 65% increased shock because basically in the tree we have a mastery set here, 15% increase to maximum level of shock. So we can do up to 65% shock, which we do. We do lightning exposure. This is built into the gloves, so we have implicit lightning exposure. And then this then synergizes back with the setup in here, which goes Mastermind and Discord. We get an additional negative 25% exposure when we afflict an enemy with exposure. So that buffs up our damage even more and also buffs up our mana regeneration. Unnerved is coming off the gloves in the build. So we have these gloves here. So implicit 15% chance to unnerve enemies for 4 seconds on hit. Pretty sure that works. Consecrated Ground, we have a Bottled Faith, so, you know, we always have enemies on Consecrated Ground. And then Guardian and Pinnacle boss damage, if you want to go so far, Uber damage, 22 million. Pretty good amount of Uber damage, to be honest with you. But yeah, now that's on the stronger pulse. On the normal pulse, we do 10 million, like, of all other things. So when we're not hitting with a strong pulse, we're hitting with a small pulse, and we do an absolute mega amount of damage anyway. So yeah, pretty damn strong build overall, but that's the config page, so let's talk about the gear. Okay, gearing on this build. Alright, so we've since made a fair few changes. One thing that you really need on this build is physical damage taken as chaos damage. So we get to 25% of that which mitigates 25% of inbound physical damage, not to mention we have armor. And then we also have the same with our Incandescent Heart. And the reason we have 25% of physical taken as chaos damage, and the reason why this is significant, is because this build uses chaos inoculation. So that means that we are immune to chaos damage, which means we're immune to 25% of our elemental damage inbound and 25% of physical damage, which is why this build does not need to overcap reses, because we are simply just immune to damage, which is why it's so tanky, or a good chunk of it. And so we grab some immunity here, which 10% of physical damage taken as chaos damage. And then we have another 7% on the helm. And then we also have another implicit 8% on our Aegis Aurora as well as our corruption, which was like a 1 div item. And so, yeah, we get to 25% and 25%, which is pretty good. And we get 25% elemental damage taken as chaos damage on our Incandescent Heart, which is why this is the best in socket shield, or best in slot chest piece. But anyway, so on the helm, we want that implicit roll. I've also got cast speed. Now, these are both Eater of Worlds and Searing XR Grand rolls. So yeah, it will cost a little bit to get these, but I lucked out last night. And honestly, like, if you're doing an EMF strat, you get heaps of Eldritch Ickers, so you can craft this. If you don't have the Grand, then just go for the lesser or the greater. You get like, 5 to 6% that way, so it's fine. So basically with this helm, I had a fractured 99% increased energy shield roll, which is a T1 roll on the base, and this was a level 85 base hubris circlet. And then basically I hit it with an Essence of Loathing, and that gives you the mana reservation efficiency. So if you didn't know that, just buy some Essence of Loathings. Do this, Bob's your uncle. Is this the best rolled helm you can get? No, it's not. You could probably get a little bit better, but to be honest with you, it's pretty up there. It's pretty good. Now, Dragon's Fang, Replica Dragon's Fang, with +3 Lightning Tendrils, Charisma, and then as much efficiency and 10%. You need the 10% reduced attributes. Aegis Aurora. So this is a pretty high roll. Aegis Aurora with 27 quality. I paid like 1 div for this, but you can get cheaper ones. Actually, no, I think I paid like 3 or 4 div for this. But you can get like 1 div versions, drops your armor slightly. The important roll on this Aegis Aurora is 8% physical damage from hits taken as chaos damage as the corrupt. Make sure you get that. On the ring setup, I've got an Anathema. Now, I have a corrupted Anathema, which gives me implicit roll of 15% increased determination. So if you can get that, get that. That's going to give you a big armor boost. Now, my wand, and I still need to do a guide for you guys for this, is a Profane Wand, basically perfectly rolled. So the method to get this, pretty simple stuff. You need a Profane Wand, right? An item level 85 Profane Wand with a fractured +1 to all lightning spell skill gems. And then from there, basically you just alteration spam it, this orb here. Alteration spam it until you get a crit multi-roll. Then regal it. Hope to God the third roll that you get on the regal is, like in my case, I've got, flat lightning damage to spells. I really lucked out with the T1 roll there. I didn't get that initially. If you don't get a good roll, annul it off. And then basically from there, you do a multi-craft. So I'm not going to do a guide on how to multi-craft. So you do a multi-craft bench craft. It's the completion of, I think, Coward's Trial, the map. I think it's Coward's Trial. It's one of them. Anyway, so... or Poor Joy Asylum. Anyway, so on the multi-craft, you're going to do flat spell damage, your highest roll you can get on your bench, and cast speed. And then on top of that, if you haven't got that, an extra, roll on it, then basically slam it with an Exalt, and then hope to God you get a good roll. If you don't, and then, if you've got the currency, re-roll it, try again. Otherwise, live with it, like I did with my last one. These ones, like these bases, are like 3 div. They're relatively easy to get, but yeah, definitely will give you a huge damage boost and will be, best in socket. Now, you'll be like, how do I get the quality? How do I get the quality roll on it? Literally, just go to your horticrafting station from Harvest, and that's like, I think 4,000 or 5,000 Harvest juice to do that. So you can buy that on PoE.ninja, or not PoE Trade. And then basically craft on 1% increased elemental damage per 2% quality, and we have 28% quality. Now, I should add, before you do anything to it, hit it with some perfect fossils, get the quality as high as you can so that you get that quality roll on it. Now, on the ring, on your left ring, I've got a Vivisect. You need the Vivisect with the increased dexterity, at least, and dexterity and strength if you can get it. That's best in socket. Gloves, I have never changed my gloves in this build because these gloves were just perfect. But you want the cast speed while focused. If you can't get it on the gloves rolled already, you can get it as a bench craft, and that's it. Now, I've just got 8% life regeneration rate, which should prop up. We're using Zealot's Oath, the regeneration rate of my energy shield. And then I just went for as much ES as I could get on these gloves with the focus roll. Now, I have got a Mage Blood. Follow my guide on how to get a Mage Blood. I'm not going to run through on how to get it. Basically, just farm delve for it. If you want to do MF strat, you could do that too. They're dirt cheap this league. I think they're like 180 div this league. 187 div. Literally just stick in there, farm it out. You'll get it pretty quickly. It only took me 3 days. And yeah, there is a little effort to get to this build. This isn't like a click your fingers and it's going to work straight away build. Now, best in socket boots, Ralakesh's Impatience. Now, I got a 5 div roll with +2 to Orogems because I use my Orogems and this up, and we'll talk about that soon. Which means I got 22 Zealotry, 21 Tempest Shield, and 23 Determination. But these are best in socket, and basically, when you stand still, you get all the effects of counting as having maximum charges. These boots are just like the best in socket for basically any build that you play these days. Now, flask setups. I have a couple of alternating flask setups. My main flask setups for when I'm delving. Granite Flask, and now you need to have increased effect on all of these. So Granite Flask, Sapphire, Ruby, and Topaz. A lot of my damage reduction for Elemental also comes from my Topaz, my Ruby, and my Sapphire Flask. So we get 70% increased effect on top of 25% increased effect, which buffs up the 20% less cold damage taken, less fire damage taken, and less lightning damage taken. So basically, we're just an almighty Chungus god. Now, when I'm running around and doing MF fine, I switch out for a Rarity Flask and a Quicksilver Flask, so you can switch out any two of those, and I usually add in like a Basalt Flask as well, just to have a whole heap more armor. Doesn't matter what you do, you can do that. You could also put a Quartz Flask on, I've got that too. But yeah, you can do a whole heap of different flask combinations with this if you want. It's up to you how you want to do it. And then my last flask that I use is a Bottled Faith. Nice and simple. That's it for the gearing. There's a fair bit of balancing and min-maxing in this build. Like, this gear is almost perfect on this build, like in every possible way. The chest to upgrade from this is 200 div. And I'm not going to put a 200 div chest piece on this build because it's already ridiculous enough. Anyway, that's it for the gearing. Okay, gem setup. So, Helm. We've got custom damage taken, Inspiration, Molten Shell, and Enfeeble. And then on our wand, we've got Phase Run, we've got Herald of Ice, and custom damage taken. Level 3 custom damage taken, level 5 Phase Run. Now, some people ask me about Reckoning. I messed up. It does not proc, because you need a melee weapon for Reckoning to still proc, even though it's a shield-based skill. So that won't proc when you're playing it. So yeah, Phase Run and custom damage taken. And that means we don't have to run a Quartz Flask. But we use Frostblink to get around anyway, so it doesn't really matter. In the shield, we've got Sigil of Power, we've got Frostblink of Wintry Blast, and Inspiration. We don't need cast speed on this because this build has such high cast speed because it's a channeling build. It's already fast as hell, and it only gets faster as you sort of juice up and whatnot. Now, in the chest, we've got Lightning Tendrils of Eccentricity, level 21. As you notice, it's level 30 Lightning Tendrils, which is where its power comes from. And you want 20% on that. Now, I had to level up a heap of gems to level 20, and then corrupt a lot of them. I basically just did this while I was natively playing in Delve, so just buy a heap of Lightning Tendrils gems at level 1, level them all up, and then corrupt them, and hope to God you get level 21, because if you try and buy in level 21, it's basically like the most expensive thing, period. I can't sit there. Anyway, Inspiration, increased critical damage, Empower level 4, we've got Infused Channeling, and we've got Arcane Surge. In the ring for Vivisect, we've got level 20 Veiled Discipline, because we need that oh shit button when we get into real danger. We just pop that and we're good. In the gloves, we've got Arcanist Brand, Assassin's Mark, Conductivity, and Elemental Weakness. Then in the boots, we got Zealotry, Enlighten level 3. Now these have gotten pretty, they're like 4 div right now. Tempest Shield and Determination. Really, really simple setup, but that's basically it. It's all you need to do. Okay, so for pathing tree, so not any real changes to the pathing tree. So we did basically pull in and grab these cast speed nodes here. We did put our Watcher's Eye to the side here, and this is basically because we need to balance more dual sockets into the build. We took away Annihilation, we just didn't need it. We already had plenty of critical strike chance, so it just was unnecessary. Also took away Arcane Will, we had so much mana regeneration anyway, so we didn't need it. So still Prodigal Perfection, Mystic Bulwark, Deep Thoughts. I do have Infused Flesh. It does seem to work, at least I think it does. And that's because of the Surging Vitality, but if someone else knows better, then yeah, let me know. I did take off these 2 points here. It's pointless because we got Leap of Faith. We saved 2 points, so we just took Discord Artisan and Presage. Now, people ask me, why would I have this? You got Herald of Ice, or Herald of Ash, or Herald of Thunder. So yeah, you can definitely have this. Then we come up, we got our Cluster Jewel up here. So we've got our Vile Bastion set up with Sap Psyche and Arcane Adept. And I had Practice Caster in here, but probably never going to take it. Then we get High Voltage, we get Lightning Mastery, 15% increased maximum cap to shock, Chaos Inoculation, Influence. We come down to get Written and Blood, 2% energy shield per second regen, Critical Mastery for 25% increased crit multi, and then we get Doomcast. Then we come across, we get Disciple of the Forbidden, we get the 3% increased damage per charge. This synergizes with the power charges, and I think it also synergizes with the Relicash still. Unnatural Karma is next, then we get 100% increased energy shield on equipped helmet. Then we grab Arcane Guarding, and now with this we grab 1% increased crit multi on the shield because we do use an Aegis Aurora, and we basically prop up our block with, now you need a minimum of 6% on the Watcher's Eye for block attack damage while affected by Determination. We also have gained 29 energy shield when you hit an enemy while affected by Discipline as well, so we get a lot of regen out of that. Then we come down, we grab Zealot's Oath, we get Sovereignty, we get Faith and Steel, big one here, 10% of physical damage taken as chaos damage, so we eliminate 10% of phys damage. Then we grab Overcharge, we then need a Thread of Hope with a large circle, and we grab Light of Divinity, Glancing Blows, and Divine Shield. Really important to get these two. They take a lot of your damage back. If you're dying in maps or you're playing this build and you don't have Glancing Blows, that'll generally be why you're dying. Or you're not dealing with overcapped reses or anything like that. We also grab Divine Wrath as well. It's a big damage increase to this build. And then we come back up and we grab our Cluster Jewel. So we have Widespread Destruction, Overshock, Thunderstruck, which does our knockback that you can see, which is really useful. Then we have Rapid Infusion, Vital Focus. We then have Nature's Patience. So when we stand still, we get Grasping Vines. So we take like 10% less damage per all of the vines being up, and 2% increased chance to do double damage per vine. So what's that? 10 times is 20% increased damage, 20% chance to do double damage. And then Rapid Infusion, Precise Focus in our second setup, so we want more crit. And then basically a Corrupted Blood Immunity Gem, and I managed to get Chill Effect on me as well, as reduced by 35%. Which synergizes with the 50% reduced effect. So I have 85% reduced effect of chill on me. So chill's basically worthless on me. And then basically the Ascendencies. So you're going to get Shaper of Storms, Mastermind of Discord, Heart of Destruction, then finish up with Bastion of Elements. And then on the second setup, I've got Primalist, Might of the Bear. I did get critical strikes out of Culling Strike because we always crit, and then regenerate 2.9% of energy shield per second. I do need to change this one. Gain 4% of, 4% of maximum mana as extra maximum energy shield, and 9% mana reservation efficiency. And then this one here probably needs a change. I don't really need it. Grant armor equal to 4% of your reserve mana to you and nearby enemies. You and nearby allies have 18% elemental resistance. And thinking on that, I don't really need that anymore. So I could probably change that out for pretty much anything else, and that's going to buff up my damage, most likely crit at this stage. But yeah, that's basically it. Alright, so hopefully this build guide gives you pretty much a full comprehensive cover off on everything. I'll put all the video links leading up to this in the description below. Pretty much any other information you need in the description below. The PoB for this build in the description below. And yeah, if you catch me on stream, feel free to ask me questions. Otherwise, yeah, ask questions in the Discord. But yeah, overall, probably one of the strongest builds I've ever built. And good luck with delving if you decide to play this. And yeah, and the next video I'll do will be a magic find, how to convert this to magic find. And basically get it up to a pretty disgusting level of MF into the build too. So I'll be doing some testing this afternoon, and then yeah, throttling that out and putting that video out. Anyway, yeah, if you like this video, don't forget to like and sub. Don't forget to follow the Twitch. And until next time, have a good one, and bye.